Alright, this week you are going to practice fractions and turning them into decimals. So I just want to remind you of the place value. Remember, fractions and decimals, they are the same. We just use them in different ways. So usually when we're talking about fractions equaling decimals, the denominator, whoa, that was very crooked. The denominator is always going to be a 10, 100, or 1,000 in 4th grade, okay? Because when we look at it as a decimal, remember if there is nothing in the whole number part of the fraction, so if it's not a mixed number, then you're going to have a 0 for the whole number. And let's say this was 3/10, then that means that it's going to be 0.3. Okay, so that first place on the right of the decimal is the 10ths place. Okay, let's say we've got 3/100. There's nothing in the ones place, in the decimal. There is nothing, there are no tenths. There's only 3/100. This is not working very well, but that means that there's a 0 in the 10ths place, but there are 3/100 being represented. And if we're doing 3,000ths, nothing in the whole number place, no tenths, no hundredths, just thousandths. Okay? And so that is how we write out fractions and make them into decimals. Now there are some different, let's review a couple of different things here. Let's say you have a mixed number, 3 and 4/10. That means that when you do the first place before the decimal, we usually put a 0 there when there is any whole numbers, but in this case there is. So you would put 3, and then we're dealing with tenths here, so that means we're only going to have this space filled, and 4/10. So 3.4, or 3 and 4/10. We say them exactly the same. Also, another reminder is that 50/100, we would write that as, there's no whole number, so 0. Well, it wouldn't be 0.5 because that's 5/100. It would be 50/100, and we know it's hundreds because there are 2 digits available. This is equivalent to 0.5 or 5/10, which makes sense because if we were to divide 50/100 by 10/10, we would get 5/10. So I just want to remind you that there are some decimals that are equivalent. But for right now, let's just focus on turning these fractions into their equivalent decimal. If you have any questions, just let me know on Yammer.